Let's pause for a minute to talk about Anchor by Spotify. Anchor is an easy-to-use, one-stop shop to create and host your podcast. When we started making Sleeping with the Numbers, we used other hosts first that forced us to manually upload to Apple Music, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. But with Anchor, you simply upload to a single spot, and it distributes it automatically to all of these locations. But that isn't all. With Anchor, you can easily record, edit, and even add music directly from Spotify to your podcast to make it sound even better. So if you've been waiting around to create a podcast, wait no longer, because Anchor by Spotify makes it extremely easy to do. Anchor is completely free and can be used by downloading the mobile app on iOS or Android, or even right from their website, anchor.fm. Make an account today and get podcasting.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
All right, hey everyone, welcome into another episode of the Sleeping with the Numbers podcast. Dylan and Pat here, and we're going to be going through model bets for every game of the week 15. But first, we're actually going to pop over to some college football. So Pat and I are going to go toe-to-toe, head-to-head in picking the NCAA bowl game. So, Pat, we're going to start out with the Bahama Bowl, which is a bowl I would like to go to. That sounds like a fun time. So we have Middle Tennessee against Toledo. We're doing this just on ESPN's Capital One Bowl Mania picker. So, Pat, 91% on Toledo. Are you going to go any different?
No, I love me some action. All about the cock rockets, so I'm gonna take Toledo.
I agree. I don't think I can. Usually for these college football lines, the favorite is kind of usually the pick. It's not like the NFL where it can usually go either way. A lot of the times the favorite is the pick. So we're gonna go to the Cure Bowl, which is I don't think it's sponsored by the band The Cure, but it might be. Don't quote me on that. But this one's in Orlando. You got Northern Illinois against Coastal Carolina. Northern Illinois is 9-4. Coastal Carolina 10-2. 84% on Coastal Carolina, 16% on Northern Illinois. And I'll go first here, Pat. I'm going to agree with everyone else. Coastal Carolina seems to be the pick here.
I'm going to ride in action one more time. Northern Illinois looked really good in the MAC championship. They had a lot of rushing yards. I want to say they're in the top 10 in the nation, real quick. So NCAA rushing stats by team. I'm going to pull this up. They're number 5 in rushing offense. So to me, that signals it's going to be a low-scoring game. And their time of possession is ridiculous. So people like Coastal Carolina because they were really good last year, and they're still good. But you got to pick the team that's going to run the clock out.
All right, I like it. Next bowl here, we have the Boca Raton Bowl. I probably mispronounced that, but we have Appalachian State against Western Kentucky. Appalachian State, 3-point favorites here, and I'm going to take the dog in this one. Western Kentucky, looking at their points per game and points allowed, pretty good spread here. So they're scoring 43.1 points per game. Total yards, 528.4. That is exactly 100 more yards per game than Appalachian State. So I like that. You just talked about run game being important and running out that clock. They put up quite a bit of those rush yards as well. So I'm going to go Western Kentucky here.
For the sake of argument, I'm going to take App State. I think looking at their last 5, they're both fairly comparable. They both played really good teams in the conference championships. And they're very similar teams in terms of competitive schedule and blowing out a lot of the other teams in their divisions. But I'll take App State just to be different.
Oh, cool. Next, New Mexico Bowl. We have University of Texas El Paso against Fresno State Bulldogs. Fresno State are 11.5-point favorites. I don't know how you don't, or I'm looking at the wrong one here. I think I got to go Fresno State here. I don't know a ton about either one of these teams, but if you're just a branch school of Texas, I'm not a fan of you. So that's why.
Well, that was insulting to UTSA. I
don't like them either.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, I'm going to pick Fresno as well.
Next, we have the Celebration Bowl. South Carolina State taking on Jackson State. Pat, I don't know how you don't take Jackson State. You know, they're 11-1 here, where South Carolina State is almost at 500 at 6-5. So easy one for me. I'm just going Jackson.
Yeah, you're going to take Primetime's team in this game for sure.
Next matchup here, we got UAB Blazers against the Brigham Young Cougars. I just like Brigham Young to begin with. I think they have played tougher teams throughout the season. I believe their quarterback is a lot better with Hall. 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's a fantastic ratio. Give me BYU in this matchup.
Yeah, I agree. They're not allowed to drink or have sex with anybody on campus, so they're going to be a little bit more focused on this game for sure.
Another reason I picked them here, they're actually a ranked team. You know, they're number 13, so that usually means something. Next one, we got Eastern Michigan taking on the Liberty Flames. Liberty Flames are a 9.5-point favorite. This is the Lending Tree Bowl here in Mobile, Alabama. So, I don't know. I'll be different. I'll take EMU.
And I'll be different, and I won't go firm action on this game. The South will rise again. It's just like the Phoenix, the Liberty Flames will rise again. So I'm going to take Liberty.
We got the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl, which is just sad to see that that's actually a thing. But we have Utah State Aggies, and just for that reason, I don't like Texas A&M Aggies, and Aggies triggers me. So I'm going to take Oregon State, who are the 7-point favorites in this matchup.
I think I'm going to take Utah State, mainly because I don't like Beavers.
I love our logic for these picks. You'll like my logic for this pick. So we have the New Orleans Bowl, Lafayette Raging Cajuns, which I do love that name, but we are Marshall, and I'm a big Matthew McConaughey fan, so I'm taking him.
Yeah, and don't forget Matthew Fox was also in this movie. You may know him as Jack from Lost. So I think that Marshall's going to lose in this game. I'm going to take Louisiana.
You think they're just going to lose because they've lost before?
Well, in the movie, the plane crashes. Times the plane crashes in Lost and in We Are Marshall. And it's going to crash a third time.
Jesus.
And Louisiana's going to win. Not realistically.
All right. If it does happen, that's on you. All right, next matchup. It's the matchup of the Devils. They're two 6-6 teams, just one more 6 in there, and you know we got problems. Myrtle Beach Bowl, Old Dominican Monarchs. I don't like that name. Taking on the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. The Golden Hurricanes are 9.5-point favorites, 52.5-point over under. I'll take Tulsa just because I've heard of them before.
Yeah, I have 2 issues with this. Number 1, Myrtle Beach sucks, and number 2. You don't get hurricanes in Oklahoma, so I don't really know how that happened. I think I'm going to take Old Dominion just because I like the band.
Okay.
Not related to the college at all.
All right, we have the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, arguably the best bowl. So we have Kent State against the Wyoming Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys, and Pat, you went to Kent State, so I'm going to roll with you, buddy.
Thank you. I think realistically, I would love to take Kent State in this matchup as well. I don't have much confidence in them, but Josh Allen doesn't play for Wyoming anymore, so therefore they don't matter to me.
We have the Frisco Bowl, UTSA, who I already said I don't like, taking on San Diego State. I'm taking San Diego State.
I'm going to take the Roadrunners. I think they're going to run all over San Diego State's road, and I don't want you to California my Texas, so I'm going to take the Texas team.
Armed Forces Bowl. Who will win this matchup? So you have Missouri against Army. Why is Missouri? Why is Missouri considered armed forces? So their name doesn't match here. I'm taking the Army.
Yeah, that's great logic. I wish the Army would go back to the donkey logo. I thought it was a little bit more intimidating than this Vegas Golden Knights knockoff logo. So I agree with you. I'm going to take the military academy just because I love the triple option. You know, who doesn't want to watch some classic 1910s college football?
Absolutely. And another Frisco Bowl here, Frisco Football Classic. We have North Texas Mean Green against Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Ben's going downhill. He's retiring. He went to Miami, Ohio. I don't want any part of that. Give me Unt.
Yeah, I'll take Cunt as well.
All right, cool. Next, we have oh boy, all right. Gasparilla Bowl. We have UCF taking on the Florida Gators. Florida is a better team, tougher conference, all that. UCF, sure, they have more wins and everything, but who the hell do they play? Doesn't matter. I'm taking the Gators mostly because I like Gators.
Well, you just insulted the American Athletic Conference, and I'm going to take the Golden Knights because they are the unsung heroes of the state of Florida.
Next, we have the Memphis Tigers against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors in the Hawaii Bowl. Hawaii is a home team here. I'm going to take them.
I'm going to take Memphis because, they're going to enjoy themselves. They're going to get a nice relaxing beach break. In Hawaii, they live there. They're not used to, relaxing. They have to live in, the middle of the ocean. So I'm going to take the ghetto guys from Memphis.
And then Christmas Day, we have the Camilla Bowl. Georgia State Panthers against the Ball State Cardinals, also in Alabama here. I don't know. Georgia State's favored by 4.5 points. I think a Panther could beat up a Cardinal. I'll take them.
Yeah, I agree. Anything that involves balls, I'm not really excited about. So, and the Ball State logo needs updated. It kind of looks something from Microsoft Paint.
Something we made in class in 9th grade.
Yeah.
Quick Lane Bowl. We have Western Michigan Broncos against the Nevada Wolfpack. That's just a sick name. I would pick them right off of that. I don't care that Western Michigan is home in Detroit. Detroit is a smelly, smelly place. Giving Nevada.
Yeah, I'm going to take Western Michigan. I'm going to roll with the MAC team once again.
Another matchup I don't think makes sense for the name, but it's the Military Bowl. Boston College Eagles take on the East Carolina Pirates. Any pirate that isn't from Pittsburgh is pretty sweet, and I like their logo, so I'm going to take them.
I'm going to take Boston College just because I feel like that they don't have a lot of love, even though they're the favored according to ESPN's picks.
All right, next bowl matchup here, we have the Birmingham Bowl. Houston Cougars taking on the Auburn Tigers. In reality, I think a Tiger could beat a Cougar, but I'm going to take the Cougars here. I'll take Houston.
Yeah, I will too. I really enjoyed Dana Holgerson when he was a really over-the-top, not productive coach at West Virginia. I think he's going to continue that trend at Houston.
We have the First Responder Bowl, Air Force Falcons against the Louisville Cardinals. I mean, if it's going to be a first responder, you got to take Air Force.
Yeah, I agree. The other logic is, Louisville and Kentucky and all those places just got hit by a massive tornado. Everyone wants to push a storyline. This wins for them. It's not. Air Force is going to win.
That's right. Because who comes and rescues you from a tornado?
National Guard.
The National Guard, that's right.
There is an Air National Guard, so.
The first responder. Liberty Bowl, we have Mississippi State taking on Texas Tech. I am actually just a fan of Texas Tech, so I'll take them. Go, Patrick Mahomes.
I'll take the Bulldogs. They're really good at paying off their quarterback's parents to get them to go to school.
UCLA taking on the NC State Wolfpack in the Holiday Bowl, which is that's after Christmas. This should probably be played on Christmas. This doesn't make sense. But Bruins reminds me too much of Boston. I don't like Boston. I'll take the Wolfpack.
I think I'm going to take UCLA just because why not?
All right. The Guaranteed Rate Bowl. West Virginia Mountaineers taking on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. I just like the Golden Gophers name, and WVU is a smelly place.
Yeah, I agree with that last part. Looking at West Virginia's last 5, they beat Kansas and they beat Texas, but then they got blew out by some other teams. Minnesota actually beat Wisconsin and came close to Iowa. I'm going to take West Virginia, even though it's illogical.
We got the Fenway Bowl on December 29th. SMU taking on Virginia Cavaliers. Virginia screwed me a few years ago in March Madness, so fuck them. I'm taking SMU.
I am as well.
Pinstripe Bowl, Maryland versus Virginia Tech. Both of these teams are 6-6. Maryland just a 1-point favorite. I don't like any of these names. What's a terrapin?
It's a turtle.
It's a turtle? Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that's where Tomlin's kid goes. I'll take them, sure.
I'll take Virginia Tech. I like turkeys.
You got the Cheez-It Bowl, Clemson Tigers versus the Iowa State Cyclones. That's a cool name. Clemson's colors are more like a Cheez-It, so I'll take them.
I'm going to take Iowa State just because I'm tired of hearing about Dabo Swinney and how all of his coaches are leaving him.
Alamo Bowl is here in San Antonio, Texas. Oregon Ducks taking on the Oklahoma Sooners. I do like Oregon quite a bit, but I'm going to take Oklahoma here because they're just a bit closer to the Alamo.
Yeah, that's good logic. I'll take them as well.
You got the Duke's Mayo Bowl. That's gross. North Carolina Tar Heels taking on the South Carolina Gamecocks. All right, my mind tells me to take UNC, but man, I really just want to bet on the Gamecocks, so I will.
I'll take the Tar Heels.
Music City Bowl, which is in Nashville. You have Tennessee taking on the Purdue Boilermakers. That's a stupid name. But I mean, it's the Music City Bowl, Tennessee. I'm taking Tennessee.
I'm going to take Purdue. I like their strength of schedule better, and I like Purdue Pete. He's probably my favorite mascot of all time.
Peach Bowl, Pittsburgh Panthers against the Michigan State Spartans. Spartans are a 1.5 favorite in this matchup. I'll take Pitt. Homer pick here, but also Leadville made me not like Michigan State.
Yeah, a great narrative for this is that Pat Narduzzi used to be the defensive coordinator at Michigan State. They'll make some stupid-ass comment about that, about how Kenny Pickett should have won the Heisman, and how Jordan Addison's the best receiver in football right now. So I'm going to take Pitt.
Las Vegas Bowl, we have the Wisconsin Badgers against the Arizona State Sun Devils. Legion Stadium, that'll be fun for them. Badgers are pretty cool. They don't give a shit. I'm going to take the Badgers.
I like Herm Edwards. He writes really good books, I think. I'm going to take Arizona State.
You got the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. Wake Forest against Texas A&M. I don't like Texas A&M. They're the joke Texas school here. So I'm going to take Wake Forest.
I'm going to take the Aggies because Wake Forest quarterback threw 4 picks or whatever against Pitt, and it looked really embarrassing.
The Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. This is just getting ridiculous here. So Washington State Cougars taking on the Miami Hurricanes. It is not hurricane season, or it might be coming up on hurricane season. Damn it. Cougars, kind of similar to a Tiger. Tony the Tiger. I'll take Washington State.
I'll take the U.
Cotton Bowl, which is also the college football playoff semifinal. Cincinnati taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide. It's very difficult to bet against Alabama, the number 1 team in the NCAA. So I won't. I'm taking Bama.
I will. I'll take Cincinnati. I'm tired of hearing about the SEC. I think fuck them all.
Next, we got the Orange Bowl, or the semifinal for the college playoffs. We have the Georgia Bulldogs taking on the Michigan Wolverines. This is a difficult one for me. They're number 3 and number 2 respectively in the rankings. Both of them are 12-1. I think Michigan's defense is quite good, but what I don't like is how ESPN and all the other networks are trying to make this about Tom Brady somehow. He doesn't play there anymore. Stop it. So I'm taking the Georgia Bulldogs.
He does still play there. I'm going to take Michigan.
Next, we got the Outback Bowl. Penn State taking on the Arkansas Razorbacks. I got to take Penn State, even though for an Outback Bowl, I think the Razorbacks make a lot more sense.
Woo pig.
I skipped one. No, I didn't. Okay. Fiesta Bowl. This is another committee bowl game. Oklahoma State Cowboys taking on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I like Notre Dame. I like Rudy. I like Doug from 50 First Dates. He's a fantastic character. I'm going to take him.
I don't like Chase Claypool, and I do like Lou Holtz, who used to be the old coach for the Irish Shush, but I'm going to take Oklahoma State. I think the Cowbobs are going to, do whatever Cowbobs do.
Next, we got the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, Florida. Iowa Hawkeyes taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. When I think college football, I do not think of the University of Kentucky really ever. Basketball comes to my mind probably because they were dominant for that short little span there when I was in high school. But when I think college football, I do think Iowa. So I'm going to take Iowa here.
Yeah, and they have the Steelers uniforms, which makes it a lot easier.
That's true. The Rose Bowl, we have the Utah Utes taking on Ohio State Buckeyes. I hate it, but I'm going to take Ohio State. I hope they can win and show that it was never Urban Meyer here doing good things. We can do it without him.
I hope everybody from Ohio State, just like we are Marshall, I'd be okay if they died in the plane crash. I'm going to take Utah.
Jesus. All right, we got the Sugar Bowl. Baylor Bears taking on the Mississippi Rebels. This is a pick'em game. Ole Miss, that's Blind Side. I love that movie. Big fan of Sandra Bullock in that movie, but Baylor, I like them. I'm going to take Baylor.
Lane Kiffin once won Most Attractive Woman in Sports, so I'm going to take Ole Miss.
Now we got the Texas Bowl with two non-Texas teams. That's confusing. It's in Houston, I guess, at the worst professional football stadium, NRG. LSU taking on the Kansas State Wildcats. Both purple. Wildcats are cool. But when I think of Wildcat, I just think of like a stray alley cat, and a tiger could totally beat up on that. So I'm going to take LSU.
Yeah, I am too. Chip Kelly's a douche, but he's not the coach yet.
And then for this last pick, we have the national championship, and currently it's you pick between two teams of who will win. So is it going to be Michigan or UGA or Alabama Cincinnati? I think it's going to be the winner of Alabama Cincinnati, mostly because I think it's going to be Alabama.
I agree with that, but I think it's going to be Cincinnati. I think that it's time that the Kings are dethroned.
So that'll do it for these college bowl picks. This will be fun. I don't really like how they're adding more and more each year. I just think it's watering down the meaning of these bowl games. They basically mean nothing at this moment, except for 4 of them. So I don't know. It's more football, I guess, to watch. It's more money for the NCAA, but that is, I don't know. It seems like that's really the only point of these games. The other thing that's kind of nice is these smaller schools, there will be scouts watching these games. There will be scouts at the games, which helps them during the draft for these smaller school guys, because otherwise when I was an agent, really what I was informed was you want to tell your players, get as much tape as possible, because people aren't watching your games if you're a smaller school player. So if you get all that stuff on tape, you can put it out there on the internet, send it to scouts, send it to teams, and that's really a way to get your name out there. Other than that, there's too many bowls. This needs to stop.
What's your favorite brand of tape?
Scotch.
See, I like Gorilla Tape.
See, I like Gorilla Glue. I'd much rather do that over Elmer's. I'm more okay with the grinding down of gorillas than I am cows.
That's fair.
And horses. Let's get into these matchups for Week 15. We are recording this on Thursday. The Thursday night game is the Kansas City Chiefs going to LA to take on the Chargers. Kansas City, 3-point away favorites, a pretty high over-under at 52 points here. There was some worry coming into this game that maybe Eckler won't be playing. It looks like he is going to play, but the word on the street is he's not going to get his full workload. I don't know how much I believe that, mostly because the backups are Justin Jackson and Joshua Kelly. I don't think they're able to play his role very well. So if Eckler is hurt and still playing in this game, maybe he just doesn't get the ball as much, and that means more work for Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Jared Cook. Other side of the ball, Kansas City's on a streak here. They've won their last 6. Their defense looks really good, and it did not look good at the beginning of the season when they first played. So I expect a high-scoring affair here, Pat, and I kind of like the over.
I agree with that as well. I think that the over will likely be hit. And I don't know. I just have this feeling that the Chargers need to be number one in the AFC West. I feel like the Chiefs have started to come back to life a little bit, but I don't know if that's really true because outside of Dallas, I mean, really competition wise, they haven't played anybody spectacular the past few weeks. It's Vegas and Denver out of the last 4 games. They beat Green Bay, but I think for me, the Chargers have a more dynamic team. And I think I'm going to take them to win, and I guess I'll also take them to cover the spread because they're +3 according to BetMGM.
Yeah, I like the Chargers as well. Home team, they've been looking good. Kansas City is going to be without Chris Jones on the defensive side, so I think that is going to allow quite a bit more opportunity for Justin Herbert, maybe a bit more time in the pocket, and for fantasy, maybe he gets to run the ball a bit more, which would be nice. I'm a fan of the over, like I said, but I'm with you, Pat. I like the Chargers to win and cover. The model is going to take the complete opposite, Kansas City to win and cover. It barely has them covering, has them winning by 3.22 points. And then for the first time of the season, I believe, we have a Saturday game. The first game on Saturday is the Las Vegas Raiders against Cleveland. Cleveland got hit by COVID, and there's some issues here. Baker is going to be out. Is that good or bad? TBD. Landry also looking to be out. So the wide receiver one is Donovan Peoples-Jones, I guess. So, man, I just don't know really what to expect in this game. I think they're going to have to lean on their defense quite a bit, and their defense has been pretty solid, whereas the Raiders' offense is middle of the pack. You got Hunter Renfrow, Josh Jacobs. That's it. Waller has been declared out for this game. So it's going to be another Foster Moreau situation, and he has not panned out at all since Waller has gone down. So currently, Pat, the Raiders are 1 point away favorites, but even with you can't call it injury, the sickness, the down with the sickness for Cleveland, I still think they get it done at home.
I don't. I think the Browns should crash and burn today, and I just don't trust them without half of their offense. So I think the Raiders are going to pull it ahead, and I think that they'll obviously beat the spread because you can't win by half a point.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess in my mind, it's like I understand that there is. So is the move from from Baker to Case really that different?
Not really, but to me, it's more of I don't trust when a backup quarterback comes in for it to be as efficient. I think if Case was the starter all year, it would be the same. Mm-hmm. But I think in reality, when you throw somebody in there last second, they're just never as prepared as the other quarterback should be.
That makes sense. And I mean, there were also reports earlier this week that Baker is having conflict with the front office of the Browns. So who knows what goes on with them? I know we've talked about his contract before, but I'm taking Cleveland to win and cover. You're taking Raiders to win and cover. The model, again, reminder here, model has no idea about these COVID issues, but it is taking Cleveland to win and cover. So take the model's pick for some of these games with a grain of salt because it does not know about these injuries. Then Saturday night game. This one's super interesting to me. So the Patriots going to Lucas Oil to take on the Colts. Colts are 2.5 point home favorites, and I don't agree with it. I think the Patriots have been hot. Mac, he's doing what he needs to do as an NFL quarterback. Fantasy-wise, we talked about it in the previous episode. He's not worth starting. But as far as being able to win games, he's doing what he needs to do. And more so, the running backs of the Patriots are doing what they need to do. Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, both doing fantastic work in the run game. Their offensive line is very good. Harris might not play. That's a possibility, but it doesn't matter to me. Ramondre Stevenson will step up, and he can take on that full workload as we've seen. The wide receivers, doesn't matter. Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, doesn't matter. This team is built around their run game and their defense. And when you have both of those, you're able to eat up that clock. You're able to cause turnovers. I think it's a very difficult matchup for the Colts. So I'm taking New England to win and cover.
I think I disagree. I think that Jonathan Taylor is going to be the difference maker in this game. And I think when I look at New England's defensive stats, I think where they really succeed is the pass defense. And that's not been the strength of the Colts this year. So
right.
I don't know. I think it's going to be lower scoring. I just feel like Jonathan Taylor is going to continue to dominate. So I'm going to take the Colts to win, and I'm going to take them to cover as well.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point. The Colts have the most points at the running back position for fantasy. And New England, if you're going to beat them anywhere, it is on the ground. They are dead center, 16th best or worst, however you want to look at it, to the running back position. I can see all of this being true. I can see Jonathan Taylor having a great game, but them still losing, because what Bill Belichick does very well is he takes away your number one option and they scheme for it. So there's no doubt in my mind that they are scheming for Jonathan Taylor. And who knows what happens because of that? Maybe Jack Doyle becomes the best fantasy option in this game. I wouldn't bet on it, but that is just something, we always talk about with Bill. He's able to scheme away your best option. Model, New England to win, New England to cover. NFC East matchup, Philadelphia taking on Washington. Jalen Hurts coming back. Who knows if he makes it the whole way through the game, but I believe Eagles are favored. Yes, they are, by 9.5 points. They are 9.5-point home favorites against Washington. That's a big spread for any NFC East team. They are always super close in these matchups. I don't know why. They just kind of seem to shit their pants whenever they play each other, much like the Eagles did against the Giants. So, given that, oh boy, this is tough. Given that, am I going to do it? I'm definitely taking Washington to cover. Shit. I'll take Washington to cover, but I'll take Philly to win. I don't like it.
I love it. I completely agree with you.
Righty, there we go. Model is going to be doing, what was the line? 9.5. Model's doing the exact same thing. Philly to win, Washington to cover. Another NFC East matchup, Dallas taking on the Giants. Dallas is 10.5-point away favorites. I don't really expect anything less here. Look like Mike Glennon's going to get the start here. Barkley is off the injury report, practice in full today. Wide receivers, Galladay and Shepard, Slayton, all should be in. Evan Ingram's in. So, they're healthy besides Danny Dimes here. Dallas, everyone's good to go. Cooper's off that COVID list, so they're going to have a full squad here. Pollard is the only one that is possible to not play, but it kind of, according to the latest reports, he's trending to play, but even without him, I don't think it matters. I think Dallas wins and covers.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think Dallas is a far better team, and the Giants stink.
Oh, man. Over under 1.5 interceptions for Glennon.
Over 3.
Over 3, shit. How many of those are digs?
Ooh. He's going to get one. It's going to be very, very close to a pick six. He's going to get tackled at like the 4 or 5 yard line.
And then they'll kick a field goal.
Yes.
All right, so model, Dallas to win, Dallas to cover. A lot of divisional matchups coming here towards the end of the season. Jets taking on Miami, and Miami hurting from COVID as well. Looking like no Gaskin, no Waddle for sure. So it's going to be Devontae Parker And according to the depth chart, Pat, we know we talked about Duke Johnson being elevated, but the depth chart has Jared Dokes as a starter at the moment, and that's spelled Gerrid. So, losing these players, Pat, does it change your mind at all about how you're going to bet this game with the Jets?
A little bit. I think that knowing that Miami's offense is crippled, I think that the spread is a lot closer to what it should be. Same thing with the over-under. I don't like even 41.5, that's questionable to me. I think for me, knowing that Miami's offense is crippled, I'm going to take them to win, but I'm going to take the Jets to cover. I think it's going to be super low scoring, super close.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. I think they will win. Are they home? They are home. So I think they're going to win this game. But, without the full squad of their offensive weapons, it might be closer than what the spread is saying here. So I want to take a minute here to talk about how good we are at what we do here, Pat. So last week on the money line, Pat, both you and I went 10-3. So all profit there. For the spread, Pat, you beat me the week before, but I got you this past week. I went 10-3. You went 6-7 here. But either way, if you're following either of us, you should be profitable on this season. Same can't be said about the model, but again, we talked about it when the model was made. Model is not made to follow verbatim. You are supposed to use it just as a guide. But Pat, we're doing pretty well in these past few weeks, and I don't want to jinx it here, so I'm gonna knock on my desk and hope that this trend continues. Another matchup here: Cardinals taking on Detroit. DeAndre Hopkins out for the season with a knee injury. And when I say season, I mean regular season. It sounds like he should be back for some postseason games. I don't really think that changes anything for me. They've been playing without him for a while. He wasn't really relevant last week. They lost, so I don't think you can blame that on Hopkins not being 100%. I'm sure it has some impact, but the Rams just came out and had a great scheme for Arizona. They planned for them perfectly in my mind, and that's why they win. It can't be said that just because Hopkins wasn't at his best that caused them to lose the game. So AJ Green looking to be lined up here for the wide receiver one. Connor, he's going to continue doing what he's been doing. And we might get Chase Edmonds back again. We'll see if he's activated before this game happens. But Cardinals, 13-point away favorites. Detroit, they don't have any running backs. No Jamal Williams, no DeAndre Swift. It's going to be Craig Reynolds. I believe he got the bulk of the work last week. Let me just confirm that here. Yeah, so he got 11 rush attempts, and then Godwin, oh boy, Igwaboike got 8 rush attempts. Do we care? No, not really. Maybe a DFS start throw, but Arizona's defense is still very good, even after getting kind of beat up upon by the Rams. The Lions are not the Rams. Those are two different animals. So Arizona, obviously, to win, but Pat, I always have a tough time with these massive point spreads. So what do you think?
I agree with you. I usually don't trust it, but I feel like Arizona has a prime opportunity now to sort of shake off whatever's been going on, because these past few games, they haven't really been dominant. And I think that they sort of cooled off from the beginning of the year. So this is a great opportunity for them to explode and allow for their team to sort of get fired up for the playoffs. And I really don't like the Lions at all without their running backs. We talked about this however many times. They got like 40% of the carries and the targets. So like, if you're losing 40% of your offense, like what the hell are you going to do?
Yeah, and Jared Goff isn't going to be the one to kind of get it done here. So they're not winless. They won one game, got beat up pretty good last week. Megan?
They have a tie.
Yes, they do. Thanks, Pittsburgh. They got beat up by the Broncos pretty good, 38-10. That gives me a bit more hope. They've just covered in so many of their games. But that was when they were at full health, I guess. Boy. I'll take Arizona to cover as well. I don't want to bet on the Lions. Model, Arizona to win and cover. Another important game in terms of playoff picture, Pittsburgh taking on the Tennessee Titans at Heinz Field. Tennessee 1 point away favorites. This is there's been a lot of them, but this is a must-win game for Pittsburgh. I think they want to make it right from what happened last week in Minnesota. They've had a long break to get rested, think about their lives and how it's been kind of embarrassing. Ben, of course, knows this is going to be his last season. He said he's committed to this season. He is all focused in on pushing the playoffs. I mean, of course he's going to say that. Any player is going to say that. It's not surprising to really anyone, but it's the good teams that bounce back after bad losses. It's hard to call the Steelers a good team, but if we're looking at history, they've done it in the past. They've been able to bounce back. So I am going to take our boys, the Lurs, to win and cover here at home.
Yeah, I think so too. They always like to make it desperate until the end. So I think they're going to barely miss the playoffs. They never are outright out of the playoffs. They always like to keep it interesting. So I don't like Tennessee right now. I think that they're a bunch of bums.
Yeah, they've kind of had a rough time. You know, we talked about it in the previous episode without their run game or this carousel of a run game they have. It's difficult. And Julio hasn't really, he came back from injury and he only got 6 targets. So to beat the Steelers, I know this is very difficult to say given what Dalvin Cook just did to them, but I think you have to beat the Steelers through the air. Man, I'm looking at the stats right now. We give up the 9th most points to the running back position and 1st in the past 4 weeks. And that is just because of Dalvin Cook. He did that to us all by himself. So there's a little bit of an outlier there. I'd be curious what we are if we take out that game. I feel that game's a fluke. TJ Watt also missed, I believe, the majority of that game. He should be back this week. I think we're going to be fired up at home. Model is going to be taking the Titans to win and cover. Next matchup here, Houston taking on Jacksonville. Jacksonville, first game without Urban Meyer, so just based on that, I will be taking Jacksonville to win and cover. They're favored by 5 at home.
I'm not. I think that everybody wants Jacksonville to win now, and I think Houston's going to come out and surprisingly win this game. So I'll take Houston to win and cover.
All right. That'll be an interesting one. The model has the Jags to win, but Houston to cover. So, both of these teams testing out Jacksonville's been testing out their rookie quarterback here. I'm really curious to see how Jacksonville responds now without Urban. I hope Trevor's able to kind of let loose, and more so, I hope James Robinson is able to get the work he deserves, and we're not kiddie fucking adults. It's just a weird thing. It doesn't even work at the lower level of football. Like, all you're doing is making the dude worry more about fumbling, and it's just a cycle that causes him to fumble more. So I hope they come back and kind of blow up Houston. Davis Mills also hasn't looked terrible. So given what they have in Davis Mills here, Pat, and they're going to start him for the rest of the season, they're likely to have, a high draft pick, at least top 10, maybe top 5. Let me take a look at that real quick. Texans are looking to get either the 2nd or 3rd spot in the draft here. If you're Houston, are you still going to go for a quarterback, or should you try to build around Davis Mills for the future?
I build around and hope to God that once everybody else is good, that you can draft a better quarterback that won't get his ass kicked. I mean, because that's what happened to basically Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. And that's why Mac Jones is succeeding. Because Mac Jones didn't come into the crappy team that said, well, we'll just get our quarterback and hope everything else works out. The Patriots are already fairly well put together.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the move is to build around him. And I was talking with one of our other friends yesterday about the top quarterbacks in the draft and where they're going to go and stuff like that. And way too early to do this, but I started doing some mock drafts for at least the first round. And Kenny Pickett kept falling to Pittsburgh. And I feel like if he falls to Pittsburgh, I think it's going to be impossible for them to pass up, correct?
For sure. I mean, you have to in that situation. That's sort of what happened with James Conner. Like, even though he wasn't a first round pick, at that point when he's still available, everyone's like, you have to take him.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily that he'll be the best option. There might be even a quarterback there that is, quote unquote, better as a quarterback. But as a dude that played at Pitt, just the love for him in that city is already there. And they see dollar signs. It's really what it comes down to. You draft him, they're going to sell out of Pickett jerseys immediately. So I don't see any way we pass him up. But Houston, however, I think you're right. Build around Mills, get an offensive line going, get maybe a better defense going. He isn't terrible for, what was he, a 5th or 6th round pick? And we already made our picks here, but I'm taking Jacksonville to win cover. You're taking Houston to win cover. Model Jacksonville to win, Houston to cover. Next matchup here, I'm honestly a bit surprised by this spread here. Carolina going to Buffalo to take on the Bills. Bills are 10.5-point home favorites. Now, I expected it to be a bit more, but I think a lot of people are worried about the Bills kind of slowing down. We talked about it last week when they were going to take on Tampa Bay, and we always talk about the Bills bouncing back. They were close, but Josh Allen really had to do everything. He had no support on that team. And because of that, he got slightly injured. He's going to be playing with a sprained ankle. It sounds like a low ankle sprain. But Carolina can't score. So I think I'm easily taking Buffalo to win and cover.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that they can throw Mitch Trubisky out there, and I'd still take Buffalo.
Yeah, Mitch over Cam. Would you do that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, there's rumors now about Matt Rule being also on the chopping block because he can't seem to decide what he wants to do at quarterback. They keep popping in Cam to start, and I said it last week, he shouldn't be starting. And then they realize that. They're like, oh, Cam sucks. And so they put in PJ, and they're like, well, PJ also sucks. So they bench him again, put Cam back in. It is just a mess. And now he's saying that Darnold might be significant going forward. So they have no idea what they're doing there on the offensive side of the ball. They're not going to be able to score on this Buffalo defense. Next, we got an NFC matchup. Atlanta Falcons traveling to San Francisco to take on the Niners. Niners are 9.5-point home favorites here, an over-under of 46 points. Man, all positives to say about San Francisco at the moment. Not a ton to say about Atlanta. Cordero Patterson looks good. That's really what you can say. Mike Davis had a good week, but I do not expect that to continue. They have one wide receiver engaged, and if he's covered, that they're done. And to prove that point, so Russell Gage had 6 targets last week. Guess how many combined every other wide receiver had?
6.
0. Not a single other wide receiver had a target last week. It was Russell Gage and Pitts. Pitts also had 6 targets. How many did Patterson get? Patterson had 5. Davis had 6. So that's their team. I mean, if you can shut down those 3 guys, that's it for them. So, given all that, I think San Francisco is coming off hot. They're making that playoff push. I'll take them to win and cover.
See, I think that for some reason, I don't think Atlanta's as bad as what they really are. I think just because they have, some well, I'd say dynamic playmakers, but Cordero Patterson, Kyle Pitts. I think for me, I don't know if I trust San Francisco enough because they lost to the Seahawks. They let Minnesota get 26 on them. They let Jacksonville get 10 on them. That's embarrassing. Atlanta sucks too. Oh, geez. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I think I'm going to take San Francisco to win and cover. I talked myself out of it.
Yeah, it's tough betting on it, Atlanta. I think fantasy-wise, sure, plug in some of these guys. Definitely plug in Patterson. Plug in Gage as like a wide receiver 3-ish, maybe a flex spot. And, if you have to start Mike Davis, he's a flex spot again. But in real life football, they are just getting beat up. Cincinnati traveling to Mile High to take on the Broncos. Broncos are 2.5-point home favorites here. It just completely ran by their run game. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon. Again, I think I would argue they have the best run game in the league at the moment, passing up the Browns. They've just looked incredibly good. I know it's easy to say that Jonathan Taylor is the best running back in the league, and he for sure is. But as a whole, as a running back room, it's tough to compete with Denver with that run game. Their passing game, however, is basically non-existent. Don't play any of their wide receivers. Sutton, Patrick, Judy, Fant. They're not worth it. You play Williams and Gordon, and that's it. Other side of the ball, I think they have more weapons. Burrow can lean on Mixon when needed, even though Denver's defense is very tough. But he has a decent array of wide receivers to go to as well in Chase, Higgins, and even Boyd at times. They all get their targets. So, man, their defense isn't completely terrible either. I just don't believe in the Broncos at all. And I got burned before picking Cincinnati, but I'm going to go into the Flames again and take them.
I'm going to take the Broncos, and the reason why is that outside of the loss to the Chiefs, they beat the Chargers and the Cowboys, and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Cincinnati really hasn't beaten anybody that they should be beating. Because to me, comparable games, San Francisco and the Chargers, they got losses, and they got spanked by the Browns. So I think I'm going to take the Broncos defense. Cincinnati is like up and coming, but they're not there where I feel confident picking them every time. So I guess with saying that, I'm going to take the Broncos to win, and I'll also take them to cover.
Model Denver to win, Cincinnati to cover. Another matchup here. Green Bay going to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Still uncertain if Lamar plays. Listen to my dilemma here, Pat. It sucks. So in our big money league, we have Lamar Jackson as our quarterback. And we don't know if he's going to play this week, which, is a problem. And in a normal league, it's like, oh, okay, we'll go pick up another quarterback. Waivers are no longer going for this league. So our backup quarterback that we're like, oh, we'll keep on our bench, moving forward. And, it won't matter. We'll only need him if Lamar doesn't play. We had Tyrod Taylor as our backup quarterback, and he's benched for the season now. So if Lamar does not play, we don't have a quarterback for, it's called the championship week. So it's not looking too good if I don't have him here.
Yeah, so we talked about, playoff strategies moving forward, what you would do differently. Something I would do differently is I would not go with a non-quarterback roster. I think it's really risky. Sometimes it works. I remember one time the Vinny Testaverde got negative points, and that screwed up a lot of people. But that was, back in 1975. So outside of that, I would definitely try to play any quarterback available.
Yeah, I think that's a great strategy. Hindsight here, we were deciding to drop between Ben and Tyrod at the moment. And we dropped Ben because he wasn't doing anything, and now he's on this hot streak. So, come on, Lamar. I personally, I do think they force him to play. They are in a situation where they can get themselves ahead of other AFC North teams if it's going to be a big if they beat Green Bay in this situation, because we talked about Cleveland. They're beat up. They could possibly lose. Cincinnati has a tough game. They could lose. So Baltimore, if they lose here, I think it's not difficult for them to make playoffs, but it's going to be way more up in the air. So just to kind of confirm that, if I look at the Ravens here and look at their most important games, currently they have a 90% chance at playoffs. If they lose this game, it goes down to 67. So still majority chance to make playoffs, but this is very important. And the key thing here is if they lose this game, they no longer determine their own destiny. What that means is the games they play, they could win them all. They still might not make playoffs, which is really tough for them, especially if they don't win this division, which I think they will. But if they want that shot, I think they got to force Lamar into this game. However, Green Bay's really good. I'm taking them to win and cover.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Model, Green Bay to win, Baltimore to cover. I honestly don't know how it's coming up with that. Baltimore has what? When was the last time they broke 20 points? They have not been good recently. So looking at that, Baltimore schedule, they put up 22 against the Browns in the loss last week. That was without Lamar. They lost to the Steelers with 19 points. They won with 16, won with 16, lost with 10. Against the Vikings in week 7, they put up 34. Is that their highest scoring game? It's tied for, I'm sorry. Nope, their highest scoring game was 36-35 against the Chiefs back in week 2. So their offense has just died down. Divisional matchup here, Seattle taking on the Rams. Rams coming off a big win against the Cardinals. And I'm a little surprised this line isn't bigger. Rams are only 4.5-point home favorites. Maybe there's a lot of worry about the COVID. They don't have Odell Beckham, which is a plus in my mind. They should have both Henderson and Sony. And Seattle is giving up the second most points to the running back position. So I think they'll just run all over them in this game. So this is another easy one for me. I'll take Rams to both win and cover.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't have any faith in the Seahawks, and until Russell starts getting his act together, and unfortunately, we don't know. Like you said earlier, for Rashad Penny is anybody who's going to be consistent. I don't trust the Seahawks offense, so I think I'm gonna take the Rams win and cover as well.
And this is a elimination week for them. If they lose this game, they're out of playoffs completely. They have a 0% chance of making playoffs if they lose this game. If they win, they have a 5% chance. But again, this is very similar to the Baltimore situation, where even if they win, they don't control their own destiny. They could win every game from here out and very likely still not make playoffs. Over to Sunday Night Football, the Saints are going to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are 10.5-point home favorites here. And Pat, kind of what we've seen in the past is Sean Payton has I was going to say Tom Brady. I don't think that's true. I think he has Bruce Arians' number. He's able to kind of get into the mind of Bruce Arians and somewhat out-coach him, even with a lesser team. But I'm not going to bet on them to win here, but I think that 10.5 points, I think they'll be able to at least cover that.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And, Taysom hasn't been horrible, but I just don't trust their offense because outside of Kamara, that's really their only explosive offensive player. I mean, I don't consider Taysom explosive, but, he's, to me, their number 2. So I feel like Tampa should definitely win. And like you said, the Saints aren't bad enough to get blown out by double digits. So I think you're right. Tampa to win, New Orleans to cover.
And luckily, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers offense, they're highly efficient. Whereas the Saints, you just said it, there's no other players on their team. So they're going to be running the ball a lot with Hill and Kamara and, some easy dump downs to Kamara as well. Their defense is okay. They definitely have a lot of potential. They just haven't been showing it lately. But I think when the Saints get the ball, they just run that. They're going to run that clock for a long time. But again, Tampa is able to go and score quickly. Tom has done it for literally decades. So I don't see that mattering. However, we don't really talk about the over-under here very much, but I'm open to this being towards the under, given how much running I expect from New Orleans. Final matchup, another divisional matchup, Minnesota taking on the Bears. The Bears are 3.5-point home underdogs. So Justin Fields is back. He's he's playing. That's really all I can say. Minnesota has looked honestly really good. Their wide receivers are incredible. Justin Jefferson is an animal, arguably the best value pick in the draft of 2 years ago. Adam Thielen has a chance to play this game. I don't know. It could be a similar situation to Lamar where they kind of force him back because they want this divisional win to kind of push the playoffs because they're just outside right now. Currently, they're sitting at a 22% probability for playoffs. If they win this game, that goes from 22 to 33. So 11% bump here. Still a long way to go for them, but beating your divisional rival is definitely a great step forward. And, I think they get it done. 3.5 points makes sense to me. I'll take Minnesota to win and cover. No faith in Justin Fields from me.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't really trust the Bears at all in this situation. And if you want a good fantasy play, Darnell Mooney might be a great choice because they're going to be throwing a lot to try to stay in this game.
So that'll do it for these matchups. Want to remind you if you need something to do, if you want to do some prop betting, whether you are in or out of playoffs, more so if you're out of playoffs and you have, maybe you lost some money and you want to make it back. Check out Monkey Knife Fight for some easy prop betting. You can do fantasy points betting there as well. So you pick a player, I think up to 10 players you can do. They give you a line for a fantasy score. You say over or under. You pick an amount you want to wager in increments of $5, I believe it is, and you place your bet. It really is that easy. And if you want an extra bonus, use our link in the description and get your first deposit match instantly up to $100.
If you want to buy some nice toys and treats for your dog, you should check out BarkBox. If you use our link, you'll get a free month. It's a monthly subscription box that gives you premium toys and dog treats delivered straight to your door. They always have great themes, and I buy it for my dog every month. So I highly recommend you try it out.
That'll do it. Best of luck, everyone.